I'm Christy, and I guess I should sort of welcome you to the Tales of Connection community. This is a space where we feel so deeply that how we show up for our dogs is connected to how we show up for the people around us, ourselves, and our broader world. So for everyone joining us, we have a really special treat today, and that we get to sit down with somebody who reminds us daily that small actions can lead to really mighty change. So Sharon McMahon, aka Sharon Says So on Instagram, America's government teacher. She is a New York Times bestselling author of a book that made me cry. And has just taught millions of people how to approach really complex topics with a lot of curiosity, kindness, and critical thinking, which is, she also happens to be a dog lover, which is how we have wound up here.
True. I have 3 dogs. And thank you for one of them is standing outside the door right now. Like, can I come in?
Well, if ever there were a time
I know.
they could come in,
I
it would
know.
be this.
Yes. I'll see. She just walked away. I'll see if she comes back. And especially if it's my beagle, she'll come in and she'll want to be on camera.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Nothing would delight me more than to see to see them here.
Yeah.
So you are sort of nicely tying into where we're going to go first, which is your dogs.
I do love my dogs. I have 3 of them, and they're so sweet and funny, and they really do bring me a tremendous amount of joy every day. They really do.
Which matters.
Right. All dogs are a big responsibility. They're a lot of work. But to me, like the joy that they bring my life on a daily basis far outweighs the inconvenience of having to deal with, their care.
With just caring for another living being. Yeah. So I understand that one of your dogs managed to sneak into the garage, open a refrigerator, and eat an entire raw turkey the night before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And I think, honestly, one of my favorite parts of the story is that your response was to call this dog a genius.
Well, I mean, first of all, I didn't realize that dogs could smell things in the refrigerator.
Oh, yes.
I did not realize that.
I thought smell is, they can smell a teaspoon of sugar in 2 Olympic-sized pools. It's kind of...
yeah. It didn't occur to me that he could smell the turkey in the refrigerator. So it's like a normal garage with a normal garage door, but then it also has like the side entrance, the human entrance, right?
Yes.
Somehow she managed to open the door to the side entrance. She didn't wait for a moment where like, oh, the garage door is up, let me get in there. She opened the side door at like 10:30 p.m. the night before Thanksgiving. When the turkey that had been dry brining in the refrigerator for 4 days was at its like optimum deliciousness.
Yes.
Optimum deliciousness. She could have gotten it at any point during the week, but it was when the Wednesday night. She opened that somehow, opened the refrigerator door somehow. I still don't know how she opened the refrigerator door. And then the turkey is dry brining in a big, glass pan. Somehow managed to get the turkey, a 20-pound turkey, out of the refrigerator, breaking the glass pan and also breaking the glass shelf because she was dragging it out of the refrigerator, dragged the 20-pound turkey out into the yard and kind of like around the corner so she wasn't immediately visible from our motion detector lights, so she wasn't like in the spotlight eating it. She was eating it in the shadows. And I mean, like that took some pre-planning, I feel like. Oh, that took pre-planning.
This is our kind of dog. We are big fans of empowered dogs who know how to use their behavior to get what they want. And I am one of those people who feels as though living in a world with a bunch of delicious smells of food and then not having access to them would be just...
I can understand that. Yeah, like, haven't you ever been on you've been on a meal plan or something and somebody else is eating popcorn or something you're not supposed to be having? It's kind of torture.
Yeah, which is why my dogs are fed food.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
I can't imagine a world like that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, in the spirit of just genius, slightly naughty behaviors. If you might tell us a few kind of quirks, and by way of introducing your dogs, if you might just tell us like some of their quirks, their individual quirks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a 6 pound or a 6-year-old yellow lab
Okay.
named Molly.
Molly.
She is the one that stole the turkey. And of course, we all know that labs are very food seeking.
So-
That's yes, they're very food seeking, lovable dogs.
Yes.
Would barely hurt a fly, but they will ruin your refrigerator trying to get your turkey. She is a Dudley yellow lab, so she has like a pink nose and light brown eyes as opposed to like the black nose and the
Yep.
dark brown eyes. And she probably has some kind of metabolic disorder because she is chonky, like more chonky than average. The vet is a little bit like, "What are you doing with this dog?" We're like, Absolutely nothing. She eats less food than half as much food as the dog who is as tall as her but weighs 47 pounds. So I don't know what to tell you. Her one of her quirks is that when she gets up on the bed at night, which, I'm one of those people who sleeps with my dogs, even though it says probably bad behavior. I don't know.
No,
You can tell me.
you're in the world of people who think that that's great.
Okay, great. Perfect. She gets up on the bed. She refuses to jump on the bed. She insists on using stairs, even though
Okay.
she's perfectly capable of jumping on the bed. And then she immediately goes up to the pillows and lays across all of the pillows. Only the pillows are cushiony enough. Like the bed's not enough.
God.
She needs like the 6 pillows
It's like,
under.
thank you so much. I assume you put this out here for me.
Yes, thank you. I am really tired from such a
Yes.
busy day.
Perfect.
From
You may
such-
have the bottom portion of the bed.
That's right. I will allow you to lie at my feet. Yes. So she tries to sleep on the pillows every night. And that we always tell her to move, and she does move voluntarily, but it's always like,
I
she
like the
always
persistent effort that, like, tonight,
you might let me.
it might be the night where I just get to sleep on the whole row of pillows.
One of you guys might be out of town and I can take their spot on the opposite pillows. So she's just like endlessly entertaining and just like a giant snuggly sweetheart, like
I
most yellow
her.
labs are.
She had me at the turkey story, but I love her even more now with the pillow story. Okay, great.
She also knows how to open our freezer drawers, like our freezer drawer in the refrigerator. And it's the kind that it's like French doors at the top and then a drawer at the bottom for the freezer.
Really got to do some work to get into these drawers.
You do, because the drawers suction close. Like you have to kind of yank a freezer drawer open. She knows how to open it. More than one time we have come home and I found her head buried in an ice cream container. And then she just kind of looked up of like, huh? And she just had like ice cream all over her snout.
Assume you put this here for me.
It was delicious. I loved it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we have to barricade our freezer before we leave the house we have to create an actual like Les Miserables barricade to prevent the French army from taking over the resistance.
Oh, that's good.
Because she will get into the freezer every time and eat frozen pizzas or like whatever is available to her.
I have a dog who will, if you are not looking, will absolutely snag a burger from the top of the counter, but he can't get to the freezer. So it's just don't leave food on top of the counter.
Yes. That's assumed. She will take counter food all day, but like the being able to open freezers and refrigerators, that's a new skill that she taught herself.
Yeah.
Probably through observation of like, how do you open this? I'm going to give it a try. And she's obviously learned how to be successful at it. My middle dog is a beagle, a 1-year-old beagle named Ginny. And I've never had a beagle before. And she is just so quirky and smart. As a dog that is excellent at hunting and, like really uses her nose so well, she is great at like independent thinking and, making decisions for herself.
Yep.
She only weighs about 20 pounds. But one of the things I love most about her is that she doesn't bark like a normal dog. She howls. She
Oh,
does a little
same.
"ow
Oh.
ow," and it's just like the cutest little "ow." So I love her little "ow," and she gets so sleepy in the morning. She's a hard time waking up, and she's just like
Oh,
so cute when she's too tired to wake up in the morning.
you get these like dramatic
Yes, I'm like, "I'm
movements.
so
Yes.
tired. Why are you bothering me?" Yeah, I know. It's really cute. She's very and because she only weighs 20 pounds, she's, like, she comes and sits on your lap all the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
and it's really cute. And then I have a dog of, we don't know her exact age, but
Okay.
we assume she's around 1 year old.
Okay.
And we rescued her about 5 months ago from a dog hoarding situation out of state where she had been rescued as one of like 30 or 40 dogs
Wow.
and they couldn't find enough local homes
Right.
for these 30 or 40 dogs. So some of them were brought to an animal rescue organization near me. And after we went through this very lengthy vetting process, we adopted her from this animal rescue. And her name is Susie, and she's all white. She is, as I said, the same height as the yellow lab, but only weighs 47 pounds. She's very, very slim. Very
Okay.
slim. And when we first got her, she had a lot of anxiety, too
Oh,
much anxiety around things like going in and out of doors. Like
oh,
to even get her in and out of the house was very
oh,
traumatic for
yeah.
her. Um, she preferred to be outside all the time because she had never slept indoors until she had been
Wow.
rescued from this dog hoarding situation.
Yeah.
But she has made so much progress in 5 months, so much progress, and
Isn't
she
that
now
so amazing to watch?
Yes, she just comes right in and out now. She
Wow.
loves treats. She is just has a truly, truly sweet, genuine, like warm personality where she just is so happy to see you. Every single time she sees you, she's so happy to see you. And
Day.
she literally smiles when she sees you. She's like, "It's Sharon." Mm. It's really cute. She's so sweet. She's just genuinely so sweet. So it's probably gonna take a few more months for her to feel like all doors are fine and I can get in the car, no problem. Still
Right.
has fears around getting in the car. But she's made so much progress in just a couple months.
And I love how you're talking about months. I think oftentimes people have such uh expectations for speed in terms of
Mhm.
transitions when they bring dogs home. And so it's a cool thing to hear you talking in a way that really suits that dog. So,
Yeah, I mean, she's never had a human to trust before.
yeah,
She wants to trust, but she needs to feel like it's safe for her to do that. And
right,
she does, it's clear she does trust and love us now. But she doesn't know how to trust all kinds of situations. We didn't raise her from a tiny puppy where we
right.
exposed her to all kinds of new things and she learned like cars aren't scary. It's fine to go, to go visit somebody else. So she loves to play with my beagle, Ginny. They love to play together. They run around together. They wrestle. They play with toys. They spend almost all day just like playing together, and it's really fun to watch them play together.
Oh, I love that she has an automatic best friend in the house
Yes,
too.
yes, and I think that's helped her acclimate too. That she has, a very easygoing yellow lab and
Yes.
a best
And
buddy.
a playmate.
Yes, yes. And that I think like she likes her little pack of friends, and they've had a lot of fun bonding together.
Well, this sounds like such a fun crew. I'm going to
Mhm.
stay on the topic of dogs, but I'm going to bring in government just a little bit
Yeah.
before we go. So, the vast majority of American presidents have had pets. Vast
Yes.
majority.
Yes, they
And
have.
the majority of them have been dogs.
Mhm.
Do you, historically speaking, make anything of the fact that Trump does not have a pet?
Well, it is interesting, and the Clintons had a cat.
Mhm.
And that was also interesting that the Clintons were kind of like they were this a little bit of an aberration of we only have a cat. Most of the other presidents who had cats also had other animals. Like Teddy Roosevelt had an entire menagerie of animals, including a bear and, like all
Really?
yes, yes. He was given a bear as a gift. And eventually people convinced Teddy Roosevelt, like, you shouldn't keep a bear at the White House. And so he eventually gave it to a zoo. But I mean, he had snakes and like they had a cow, and like the number of animals that Teddy Roosevelt has
Oh, wow.
is very interesting. So I do think it says something about Donald Trump's personality that he doesn't want to share a space with animals. I think it says something about like the type of lifestyle that he's accustomed to living,
Mhm.
which is, he grew up wealthy and he has always lived a wealthy lifestyle, that some things are not convenient or, I would only be hypothesizing about why he doesn't have an animal. But knowing that he likes to be surrounded sort of in a luxurious type of environment, I can see how if that is your mindset, that an animal would be shedding hair everywhere or would be, like barking at moments you don't want them to be barking, or, they would be degrading the luxury, so to speak. I don't necessarily think that's true, but I can see how some people would think that is true.
Okay, fair enough. I think that that is as good as we can expect without throwing out a whole bunch of just random things that
Yeah,
come to mind
I
about.
honestly think it's again, he doesn't like animals. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I do think some
Which
of it
may
is,
also say something.
yeah, yeah. I do think at least some of it is the psychology of wealth.
Mhm.
That
Say
this is this is degrading my luxurious environment. Perhaps. That's a guess.
okay. All right. So one of the things that you say a lot is that we belong to each other, which is something that we wholeheartedly agree
Mhm.
with.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if you can speak a little bit about what you've learned from living with dogs about how we relate to each other, how we connect with one another, how we belong to each other.
Mhm. Well, for me, the relationship with dogs is it's so special because their love for you is so unconditional. And I've seen some people say one way to describe it is that it's like God's love wrapped in a fur coat. Like that. I'm not saying that that's how everyone views it, but I've heard some people describe it like that, like this very unconditional, positive regard for you, that they just love you so much. And even though they can be a pain in the butt, it's a pain in the butt to have to go buy a new Thanksgiving turkey at 10 p.m. the night before Thanksgiving. It sure is. Um, to me, it's a really great illustration of how caring for the least of these, the people in our communities who maybe are not bringing, GDP growth to the
Right.
table.
Yep.
people people who are not necessarily, inventing rockets to the moon, that those members of the community are also incredibly important and valued and should be respected and cared for, much in the same way that we love, value, respect, and care for our pets. I do think it says something that we are all, crying in the movie theater when, Bambi's mom dies. Or when Dumbo's mom has Dumbo taken away from her, or when you're watching a nature movie and an alligator eats a baby gazelle, like that literally is like a knife in our heart when we watch those things. And yet we don't always have the same amount of care for humans who are going through really, really difficult situations. So I do think that animals, especially dogs, where their relationship is so reciprocal with you, they've evolved over so many thousands of years to perfectly complement human activities and emotions.
Mhm.
And I have seen some research say, and I'm not a dog researcher, but I've seen some research say that dogs are now entering a new era of their evolution. About what, like human utility for dogs has changed in the
Mhm.
last 100 years. Not many of us are using dogs to herd our sheep
Right.
anymore. We're buying Australian Shepherds because they're floofy and have blue eyes. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's a bad idea. They do have a lot of energy. But
Yeah. Okay. That's
anyway,
the face you saw me make.
yeah.
But
Yeah, like maybe don't get one of those if you don't have the sheep.
if you
Uh,
don't, we're not prepared to give them an outlet. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Um, Anyway, to me, they're just a really lovely illustration of what of humans learning what it means to care for something that ultimately does not bring them a high degree of utility.
Oh,
And that's really a beautiful metaphor for our human relationships too.
yeah, I could not agree more, and it's really interesting. One of the things in the dog space, there's it's more and more people are coming over to see sort of the respect that we owe dogs, that they're not here just for us to control. They don't inherently owe us quote unquote, obedience. And we rely more on the understanding of how behavior works. And so I think one of the really cool things in that in a lot of the conversations that I've had with people is that as people learn, or honestly, it's unlearn some of the sort of systems that have been a part of their growing up that are translating to how they show up with dogs. That, like, this dog inherently owes me this. I'm going to
Mm.
control them. And so there's this big unlearning. And I think in doing that, a lot of people get to practice this orientation towards the most vulnerable, right? Towards
Yeah.
even the most vulnerable in their house, perhaps, or the more
Yes.
vulnerable in their house. And it feels like a gift to get to practice working to empower another instead of trying to hoard power for yourself.
Mm. Mm. Mhm.
And I dogs to me have been such incredible teachers and
Mhm.
a way to practice those skills that I think ultimately benefit our world when we bring that orientation towards the vulnerable, that way of trying to empower others instead of amassing power. And so I have often felt like when I teach dog training that I, I'm not trying to get you an obedient dog. I don't actually, that's not my goal. I'm trying to teach you how to relate to another living being. And that's a skill that's going to carry on to so many other sort
Yeah.
of facets of life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that people who are, people who are adults who are diagnosed with, sociopathy or psychopathy often have a long history of cruelty to animals. And so you can see how valuable the practice is of having empathy towards another living being who does not have any real utility. And by that, I mean, like, we're not using them for meat or milk or whatever.
Capitalism utility.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, capitalistic utility. They have lots of emotional utility.
Yes.
But yes, we're not going to sell
Yes.
it for more money than we
Yes.
bought it for
Right.
later.
Right.
Um, so I totally agree that we have animals like dogs in part because they are meant to teach us
Yes.
things that we can't always learn in other places.
Yeah, and lessons that sometimes I think are just, even though there are many times where I think we could easily learn those lessons in other places, I sometimes think dogs are an easy entry point to
Yeah,
practicing some of those skills
totally.
that show up
Yeah.
and then make our world a little bit better. It's just the people around us benefit from how we learn with our dogs. So,
Mhm. I
um,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question for you is that I have talked to a lot of people who have a lot of fear around, like, is our government working? So one of so this question is about for the people who are worried that our system of checks and balances across our three branches of government is not doing the checking and balancing that it's supposed to be doing. Um, what do you say to those people?
Hmm. Well, I think their fears are understandable. We are at an inflection point in history. We are at a unique moment in history. We've had other unique inflection points and have used that inflection point to rebuild something better. So, I think about the lead up to the Civil War, for example, or the lead up to the American Revolution, or the lead up to even the new sort of world order following World War II.
Mhm.
Inflection points are sometimes painful, but they don't always have to lead to a disaster afterward. They can sometimes lead to something better. I don't know many Americans who feel like we aren't better off having abolished enslavement.
Right.
Right? If you do think that, get off this call. I
Right.
like I we're not I'm not going to
No,
debate it
we're
with
in
you,
the wrong
right?
place. Yes.
Right, you're in the wrong place. Um that but yet the pain of the inflection point was very, very real, and there was a tremendous amount of sacrifice when it came to the Civil War, of course, and I certainly don't want another Civil War. I'm
Mhm.
not insinuating that in any
Mhm.
way. But what I will say is their fears are not unfounded.
Mhm.
This is a unique moment in history, but it also gives us an incredible opportunity to improve things for the better. If everything is going swimmingly on the surface, there is little incentive
Mhm.
to make meaningful change. And most Americans do think we need meaningful change in at least some directions. We might disagree on exactly how or what needs to be changed, but most people can point to things in the country that they would like to see meaningful change on.
Mhm.
We haven't amended the Constitution since the 1990s. We haven't amended it meaningfully since the 60s. So most Americans think that we should at least talk about how we can make things work better for the majority of Americans. The incentive structure in Congress, for example, is very broken. Congress is almost nobody's happy with Congress. You might like your individual congressperson,
Right.
but the group as a whole is the club is broken.
Yep.
The club is like whatever this is, whatever we're going to call it, the club or the organization. Whatever, it does not work for the majority of Americans. It works for the power structures that they have devised for themselves. So when people ask, what am I supposed to do about any of this? I look around, I watch social media, I read your articles, I watch the news, and all I feel is like, how am I supposed to fix it? What am I supposed to do about all of these things that I'm concerned about?
Right.
And there are many things that people can do, but I will tell you that learning about the things that are happening and learning about how it's supposed to work is a really important component of what I'm supposed to do. I recently had the opportunity to interview Condoleezza Rice, who was George W. Bush's national security advisor and Secretary of
Mhm.
State. And one of the things that she told me that I thought was really important is that in order to make meaningful change on something, you have to really understand how it works.
Right.
And I think too often we get, our blood boils about something we saw on social media. We all know, we all have a crazy uncle or somebody who's just reposting random stuff on
Yes.
Facebook. We're like, what? This is not even true. What are you talking about? Like, we all know people like that.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of people that too often have access to the levers of power. Wouldn't it be better if people who actually understood how things worked had access to the levers of power? You don't want to hire a heart surgeon who doesn't really understand how the heart works before they get in there and start hacking around with a scalpel, right? So
Right.
I want to emphasize how important um, education and understanding and paying attention is in a moment like this. It feels like I'm not doing anything, but you are. You are doing something by learning about it, by paying attention, and by sharing that with other people.
Okay. There are. I have so many follow-up questions from this. I think the first one that I want to kind of hit on, because I think you're sort of you tied into a little bit, and it was sort of where I was going to go next too, which is that looking at kind of the power dynamics in this country right now, it feels like billionaires and corporations are just wielding so much power
Yeah,
and in their own self-interest, and with decisions like Citizens United, um, we basically have elected representatives who are representing donors. It
yeah,
feels like um, more than the people who
yeah,
elected them, right? Which is not how this was set up, and it's easy to start to lose, faith in kind of the integrity of this democracy. And it sounded a little bit like what you were saying is like, to me, it sounded like there was some hope in there, and that it being bad enough might set the conditions, set the stage for people to say, maybe I should figure a little bit more about how this should work and how do we change this?
Mm.
Is that a fair way
Yeah,
of interpreting?
yes, yes. Inflection points give us an incredible opportunity for change. If you look at, say, do you watch the TV show The Gilded Age? Have you ever watched that?
I have not, but
Okay, it's really good. It's
okay,
really, really well done. If you like Downton Abbey period
okay,
drama, The
okay,
Gilded Age is really, really interesting.
okay,
Um, but if we think back to the Gilded Age, we think back to like women in corsets and bustles
okay, yeah,
and incredible
yep,
architecture of New York and like the Astors and the Rockefellers and like
sure,
these dynasties that are created and the beautiful marble foyers and the
yes,
ballrooms,
yes,
right? We think about this incredible amount of wealth that was generated during the Gilded Age.
yep,
But what also went along with that was exactly what you're describing now, which is, the creation of sort of an oligarchy where power became
yep,
very concentrated in the hands of robber barons.
mm,
And the nature of the robber baron has changed.
yep.
We instead of like the marble ballrooms, we have weirdly shaped rocket ships. You know, like but it's the same concept. It's
Yes.
the same exact concept. And there was an answer to that sort of the corruption and cronyism of the Gilded Age. And it was a reformer named Teddy Roosevelt who actually got elected in part because he was willing to take them on. He was willing to help move antitrust legislation through Congress. He was willing to have a bear at the White House, at least for a while. Um, but
So maybe
along
that's what we're missing.
yeah, yes, yes. Maybe we're just missing somebody with 50 pets. That
Right?
actually might be and a son named Kermit and a daughter named Alice who had a pet snake that she just carried around the White House all the time. Maybe that's what we're missing. But the pendulum swing of politics and history, during the Gilded Age, the pendulum swung very far into this cronyism and corruption, and then the pendulum swung backwards in the other direction, and we had the opportunity to course correct during the Roosevelt era, and then that set us up for. Of course, we then had a couple of world wars, and that changed a lot of 20th century history, but I think it's important to remember that the pendulum will swing and how far it swings back and what we do when the pendulum does swing back is important. So I view understanding how all of this is meant to work, where it's going wrong, this is an important component of harnessing the power of the pendulum swing when we do begin sort of the course correct back away from the billionaires controlling everything. But here's the thing, if we don't learn about it, if we don't understand how it's supposed to work, if we don't understand what is meant to happen, when the pendulum swings backward, that can create a power vacuum in which somebody with other bad ideas can seize control. So this is one reason why an educated population is difficult to control. Why educating people, the air quotes, the masses,
Right.
um, why that is a very, very important component of creating the kind of change. It's the foundation level for
Mhm.
creating the kind of change that we want to see later. What we can't have is a population that is oblivious and then ping-ponging from one type of leader to another. They just have different language, but they're retaining all the power for themselves.
Right. So when anytime we're talking about behavior with dogs, or you could be talking about it with people too, we are always looking at the conditions under which the behavior occurs, right? Behavior
Yeah,
does not occur in a
in a
vacuum.
vacuum. Yes.
And we are the behavior. I am so slow to use labels, but there's a lot of crappy behavior on display right now. And it's just,
Mhm.
it's not great.
Yeah.
And a huge part of the conditions under which this behavior is occurring is just massive amounts of misinformation.
Yep.
And then a bunch of social reinforcers for essentially perpetuating this
That's right.
misinformation.
Yep.
And I know you have certainly devoted a lot of energy and effort into educating people. I'm a little bit curious about, for those of us who may not have the background that you have, but uh, like, how do you advise people when we bump up against misinformation, whether it's from a stranger or somebody we know, to kind of handle that? Because on the one hand, we all are just overwhelmed by life right now. Or I think a lot
Yes.
of people are. I think life is
Yeah.
a lot, and there's only
Understandably.
right. We can't expect every single person to get into it with every single person who
No.
has a piece of misinformation.
No.
And so I'm a little bit curious about what you see or how you see the role of, individual people who um, are doing their best not to start world wars and families or get into arguments nonstop on the internet, but also want to slow the spread of some of this misinformation.
Mm. Well, I think you're exactly right that nobody can or should live their entire life in a constant state of conflict with other people. Right. And so when we think about like, well, what can I do about the spread of misinformation? The answer is not blow up every interpersonal relationship that you have. That is actually a recipe for disaster. That's not to say don't ever confront a relative who is saying untrue things, but that is an important component is that humans have evolved with dogs. Dogs are an important part of our human communities that we have formed,
Mhm.
and humans are by definition communal animals.
Yes.
We are not meant to live alone. We are not meant to live in isolation.
Yep.
And so the idea that we would just sort of light our entire family, uh, friend group, etc., on fire, that's not a good idea, and that's not good for your mental health for a variety of reasons. The first thing when we're talking about like social media is s- stop engaging with and following accounts that that are known to spread misinformation. Even just engaging with the accounts means
Stick.
more people will
Yep.
see it. If you
Yep.
want the information to go farther, start engaging more with it.
Yeah.
If you want your feed to be full of more things like it, start engaging more with it, even if it means posting a giant refutation of why
Right.
everything in this post is wrong. So I'm not saying there's never a time to do that. I'm not saying never ever don't refute it. I'm just saying understand that the more you do it, the farther the information spreads and the more you will personally see it in your own social media diet.
Right.
So if you have noticed that certain accounts or certain news organizations or certain people that your friends follow, so the algorithm thinks you want to follow it too, if that sort of thing is, just blatantly, peddling misinformation or propaganda, just block that account. Just block them block yourself from having seen it. So you don't have to engage with it anymore, especially if it's really bothering you, if it's really creating a lot of misinformation or a lot of anxiety. The misinformation is creating a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety for you. Much like if you were working with a dog that had a lot of anxiety, you would never advise a client to just put their dog in an anxiety producing environment
Never.
24/7 and
Never.
then
Yeah.
expect that dog to do well behaviorally,
Yeah. We would
right?
pull way back and get them into
Yes.
an environment that was safe so they can start to use their behavior.
Right. And then maybe we might we might have an introduction into like, we know that going through doors, like with my dog Susie, we know that that produces anxiety. So, what are the conditions that we can help you modify that so that you don't have to experience this tremendous amount of anxiety
That's
with
all.
doorways? Um, it seems simple when it comes to dogs. Like, of course, we wouldn't put our dog
Right.
in a room that's playing 24/7 fireworks. Of
Yes.
course, we wouldn't do that. But yet we expect our own human brains to just be perfectly capable of being completely immersed in a very anxiety-producing environment 24 hours a day.
Yep.
So give yourself permission to be informed, but without immersing yourself in an anxiety producing environment 24/7. You are not going to be a positive force for good in the world if you are immobilized by anxiety. If
Yep.
you are literally like vibrating under the bed, like dogs do, some dogs do. When I was growing up, we had a miniature German Schnauzer who had anxiety, and she would literally
Oh, it's so
literally
much.
vibrate with anxiety sometimes, and she would hide under the covers and, et cetera. Um, the You're not helping anybody if that is how if you are putting yourself in a situation where that's where you're existing all the time.
Yeah.
So, if that means subscribing to a handful of like newsletters, like the Associated Press has one that they send out in the morning and one in the afternoon, gives you a rundown of the headlines. You can keep abreast of what's happening in the world. You can click on stories you want to read more about. But its existence in the world is not to make you afraid, which is what a lot of media does because the
It
fear
works. Yes.
pays.
Yes. And
Yes. Yes.
it's profitable.
Yes. So that those are just a couple of things I would say is um, m- make sure that you are not putting yourself in an environment in which you are feeling anxiety 24/7 because that's bad for you. Um, Decide where to direct your energy in the same way that we help our dogs learn how to direct their energy, and it's not chewing up your couch, and it's not eating the pillows. We hope to help them have a healthy outlet for that energy, more running time, more things to sniff, like whatever it is that really pings the reward center in that dog's brain. Having a healthy outlet for the change you want to help create in the world is important. And that can often mean joining an organization that does the things that you care about, whether that's education or the environment or animal rights or whatever it
Yep.
is. Those kinds of organizations can actually help us feel like we are helping to create sort of more productive change in the world than if we are just literally hiding under the covers vibrating.
Yes, I love that. And especially as somebody who every once in a while, it's something that I know. I feel like every cell in my body knows it. And then every once in a while I get caught scrolling.
Totally. It's human
And
nature.
I walk away and I'm like, I'm not okay. We're not
Mhm,
okay.
mhm.
Just like, no,
Do you know Okay, sorry to interrupt you. Let me give you one other little tip that has
okay.
helped me, which is to get a brick device.
I just learned about these.
Yes. Brick devices, much like a dog. I don't know if you recommend like the thunder vests or,
Sure.
like whatever you might give a dog to help them
Mhm.
feel more secure
Mhm.
during a stressful environment. This is a device that you can sort of help you help yourself. That's
Yes.
kind of what it is.
Yes.
It's called Break. It was created by some like 23-year-olds who discovered that they were deeply addicted to their phones,
Mhm.
and they could not, no matter what they did, the reward system for interacting with
Too
their
strong.
phones
Yep.
all was just I have my job is on the internet, so I'm
Yep.
very, very intimately familiar with it.
Yes.
So it's a little device. You pair it with your phone, and when you brick your phone, you press a button and you hold it up to this device. It shuts off your access to whatever things on your phone are triggers for you. For me, it's social media.
Yep.
Um, I don't have a problem with like not getting my work done because I'm listening to Spotify. I can listen to music all day, right?
Right.
For some people, it's streaming platforms. You can
Mhm.
choose what you want it to block.
Okay.
And then you put this little device somewhere very inconvenient. For me, it is on a top shelf in my closet under a pile of jeans.
Oh, I love this.
somewhere where I can't see it easily.
Yes.
If I'm out in my office, I would have to go all the way into my
Yep.
bedroom, dig underneath the pile of jeans. So you cannot get out of this sort of like bricked environment until you reunite your phone with the actual device.
You got to tap it. Is that right?
Yes, you have to press
Wow.
the button, hold it, and like tap it,
Wow.
and then it
Okay.
will unbreak your phone. So it helps you be more intentional about your social media consumption, about your internet use. You can still use the phone to make calls and get texts, and like you again, you can tell it how you want to be able to use the phone when it's in its bricked state. But just as we might help our dogs help themselves, a device like that can help humans help themselves.
Oh, I feel like so I didn't I'm glad you just shared more about this because somebody just told me you should get a brick because I have been trying to delete the app then undelete it when I need it. I have to get on online some and I'm like, this is just getting very
Cumbersome.
inconvenient and clunky. And what you just described is such a beautiful illustration of a what in dog training world or in behavior world we would call an antecedent arrangement. It's where,
Mm.
and this is where our behavior is powerful, is that we, even when we know something is not good for us, right?
Mhm.
We're like, I know social media is not good for, I tend to feel like garbage if I spend too much time mindlessly scrolling. If I'm doing something with intention, it feels a little bit different. But
Mhm.
um that knowledge is not enough because there are too many reinforcers.
That's right.
There are just too many. And that's the behavior it's not like a consciousness is not the only thing required in order to move behavior.
Yeah.
It is just a natural part of life on this planet. And so by arranging antecedents, which is essentially, it sounds like what you're doing, you made it really hard for yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
You just remove the access so you literally cannot get to those reinforcers. You
Yeah.
change behavior. That is um, great sales pitch. I'll probably buy one of these after.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought one at the request of my daughter who's leaving to go to college next month. She was like, "Will you get me one of these so that I will, um, you know, uh, I will be able to focus on studying?"
Yeah.
She even knows, like, even if all you're watching on the internet is dog videos,
Doesn't
there's
matter.
a lot of amazing dog videos.
Yeah.
Let me tell you,
It's just
we
too
rate
much.
dogs just like it's too fun to watch. Um, Even if what you're doing is relatively innocuous, we all know what a time suck it can be.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just if knowledge was all that was required to. Oh, here
We'd all
comes the
behave. We'd
beagle.
all behave differently.
Yes, let me see if my beagle will come in. Just a second. She's at the door. Do you want to come in? Do you want to come in? Do you want to come in? Come on in. Here, sit down. Let me get you. Come here. Some people want to say hi to you. Some people want to say hi to you. Some people want to say hi to you. This is Jenny.
Jenny's perfect.
Jenny's a good girl. She's a good girl and a smart girl. Yes, she's very sweet. She's a very sweet girl. She loves to have tummy rubs.
I
Yes.
can tell.
She's a nice baby. Anyway, yes, we would all be eating 7 servings of vegetables every day.
Sure.
If all that was required was knowledge. Nobody would be addicted to cigarettes.
Yep.
If all that was required was knowledge to change your behavior.
Yep.
So anyway, this is
Which is
just a
another reason why when anyone says my dog knows it and chooses not to respond, I'm like, that's not how behavior works.
right. Yes. Great. So, in this, anyway, that's just one tip. If you are finding that the internet is a powerful vortex of doom, then maybe get a
Such a
brick
poignant
device.
description of the internet. Well, and I really appreciate what you're saying. That is, if we are getting so worked up all of the time on these places and we are feeling like we're constantly having to try to combat all of the misinformation we see, or maybe we're not, but the internet is too hard, quiet it and then focus our energy where we can make.
Yes.
Or we can
Yes. You will feel so much better if instead of doom scrolling for 3 hours, you go spend 1 hour volunteering at an animal shelter. or
Mhm.
1 hour volunteering at your child's school, or 1 hour picking up trash at a park.
Yep.
You will leave that 1 hour feeling like I actually did something good. And that is a very that is a positive reinforcer of behavior of like
Mhm.
when I choose to, I actually can make a difference in my community as opposed to just, watching
Yeah.
1,000 videos of how the world is literally, a hot mess inside of a dumpster fire, inside of a train wreck.
Which is basically what the internet conveys.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're touching on another thing that like one of the things that I always has irked me a little bit when people say like you alone are responsible for your happiness. And I always like there's a little bit more nuance to that. Like we live in community and
Yeah.
my behavior is your environment. Your behavior is my environment. We create the environment that everyone else exists in. And to that extent, we are responsible for one another, right? To your
Mhm.
point, we belong to one another.
Mhm.
And I was wondering, in this age of just so many things feel like they need attention, and a lot of times it feels urgent, right? Like you see these
Yeah.
um, news announcements, even when, frankly, it isn't meant to do scary things. I still sometimes read these things, and I'm like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
this is starting to
There's
feel like my.
plenty to be upset about. There's plenty to be upset about. There really is.
So I really appreciated how the historical figures that you covered in your book, and one of the things I appreciated most is you did not gloss over sort of the ugly parts of the environment, the country, and I think it made me feel like okay, people, we've gotten through things before. Things have been bad before, and we've. Um, I was wondering if you had come across some kind of current examples of people whose names we don't know, but who are doing sort of the next needed thing that might inspire those of us who are trying to get out of the doom scrolling and into action.
Yeah, I can think of a few examples. There's one person who just pops to mind immediately, and her name is Araba Mays, and she's a librarian in Baltimore, and she has a platform called Storybook Maze, Maze.
I
Have
know
you
this.
seen her before?
Yes,
Yes,
I've
and
purchased books for my son from this.
yeah, amazing. Yes. So she has created book vending machines, which give out free books to children. And she, fundraises to be able to put these in places because there are a
Wow.
lot of places that are book deserts where
Yes.
they don't have access to public libraries. But she's also been working on a book trolley. She was able to raise enough money to purchase a vintage trolley that she is going to like refurbish the inside of so that people can she can meet children where they are. So a lot of times she found that children's access to books is curtailed because their parents don't take them to the library
Mhm.
for whatever reason. Their parents are busy,
Sure.
they are working two jobs, they're a single parent. There isn't a library nearby. They don't have a car. There's a lot of reasons. They never grew up going to the library. So rather than just constantly harping on people, bring your kids to the library, she wants to bring books to children because we all know how important reading to
Yeah.
children is. So to me, I love what she's doing. She's really fun to watch. She's on TikTok and Instagram, Storybook Maze. Um, Instead of just being like, education in this country sucks,
Right.
everyone's doing it wrong. Nobody reads their kids anymore. Like instead of coming at it from the position of everybody sucks and we're doomed, she just has asked herself, what is one thing I could do about it? And, I think sometimes it feels like we need to fix all book deserts in the country. We need to fix every child's access to books. Dolly Parton is a great example of somebody who has devoted her time and resources to giving children books with her imagination library. But Dolly Parton has very different resources than an individual like who is a librarian.
Right.
So to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think Dolly knows that. And I think Dolly lives out those values.
Right.
Other people with smaller platforms, you can't ship out 250 million books. You're not Dolly Parton. Do you know what I mean? So I think we allow ourselves to get bogged down in this idea that like I can't do everything, so I will just do nothing. And that is not how we change the world. We don't change the world by all of us just refusing to do nothing because we can't do everything. We work on helping one dog at a time, like this cute little puppy on my lap. Or we work on, one child at a time,
Yes.
or one neighbor at a time, or one problem at a time.
Yep.
This park has trash everywhere. Um, Doing the next needed thing is something that's available to every single one of us, no matter where we are in life. It does not always have to mean becoming Dolly Parton. It can mean looking around and asking ourselves, where's one thing I could do today? Who's one person I could call and make sure they're doing okay? Who's one person I could drop off a loaf of banana bread? Who's, one person that I could buy their kids some school supplies? Um, we all have access to do something. And for some of us, our platforms are much larger. And for others, we might know 5 people in a small town, but we can all do the next needed thing.
I want to hear this reminder all the time because it is so easy to get swept up in the bigness of the problems and think the solution lies in just big
government. We think the solution lies in getting better Congress and getting better government leaders. And that is one thing that's needed. I'm not denying that. But if we think that Congress is coming to save us, think again, my friends, because they ain't. I don't see my member of Congress cleaning up the park and bringing banana bread to the shut-in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If we're all just going to sit around waiting for better Congress at some undefined point in the future, we're going to keep on waiting. In the meantime, we can start making a difference in our own communities, like this afternoon.
Our behavior is powerful. That is one of my favorite things. Is remembering that as long as we can behave, we have power. We can.
I love that.
We can always help each other out. Do you have time for one more question?
One more question.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Ginny is here with me. Ginny is being a lap dog right now. She does not want to be on camera, but she is sitting with me and sleeping a little now.
Her presence is appreciated. So you have to be, very current as a part of your job, which means you are aware of all of the things that are going on all of the time. And I am curious, what are some of the things that you do, if you feel comfortable sharing, that kind of ground you and that help you feel cared for and okay in a world that often feels like it needs a lot from us?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned one of the things, which is taking breaks from the things that the sort of constant barrage of the fire hose of information. Taking breaks from it is an important component. And I do recognize that, being an able-bodied white woman in America allows me the space to take a break from things that people in other communities don't have the privilege to take a break from. I do understand and recognize that. Ideally, everyone would be able to take a break.
Agreed. The systems are messed. The environment is
ideally, everyone would be able to do that. That doesn't mean that people who are able to shouldn't take a break because some people can't. So I recognize that like the underlying system needs to be addressed. But taking a break allows me to do more good in the world because I have taken a break. And honestly, doing things that help reset my nervous system, like letting my dog sit on my lap while I'm working, and petting her really soft, warm ears, and being able to smell her little doggy smell.
Yes.
The little doggy. Every dog has a different smell, and the beagle is a little bit stinky. Beagles are a little bit stinky, but it's still a cute stinky.
Yes, of course, the cutest of the stinks.
It's a little bit stinky, but it's her unique little Ginny smell. I love to grow flowers. And I have a lot of gardens at my house where my hydrangeas are popping off right now. It makes me happy to just listen to birds and
Yeah.
to snip some flowers and listen to the rain and bring the flowers in my house and read a book um, based in a time period that's not the here and now.
Yeah.
Those are all, and for other people, it might be running or it
Mhm.
might be, ice skating or like whatever the things for you are. I'm not saying my things are the only things, but those are just a few things that I do. I take breaks from it and I spend time with the people and things that I love. Yeah.
Well, Sharon, this was such an incredible treat to get to
Oh,
talk to
thanks
you,
for inviting me.
to learn more about your dogs and to just be reminded of amidst the potential for overwhelm that we have the ability to kind of quiet things down and figure out where we can make an impact.
Yeah.
And that is where our power
Mm,
lies.
I love that. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me. It was
so
great to chat with
much.
you. And Ginny says goodbye even though she's asleep.
Well, we hope she has a wonderful lap nap.
Yes. Thank you. All right.
Okay,
We'll talk again
bye.
soon. Bye.